Basically, the reason why we exist as an organization is to research into our past as a people, black people, to understand who we are, what we were, and why we are what we are today. Because a lot of things happened in our past as a people. You know that before we became independent, about 4.5 centuries to 5.5 centuries, we were under foreign domination. Firstly, it was 4.5 centuries of slavery and 1 century of colonization. Now, that kind of experience does not leave you intact. And as a result, you will find that the only race in the world which looks down upon itself is the black race. It doesn't matter where they are, whether they are in America or Brazil, they think that other races are better than them in terms of even skin color. When we look at white people, we think their color is more superior to ours. We think their intellect is higher than ours. We think they're more gifted than we are. And that is because of the experiences that we went through in the 5.5 centuries of foreign domination. So we suffer from inferiority complex. And I think as black people, we must admit this in order for us to put ourselves in a situation where we can change the situation for ourselves. The people who formed this trust, the Zimbabwe Heritage Trust, were 3 men and 2 women who thought an effort must be made to give black people the confidence they need so that they stand on firm ground and they believe that it is proper to be black and there's nothing wrong with it. And so how do we do it? We research into the heroism of black people. A lot of things were achieved by black people. If you read about the Egyptian civilization, many books will tell you that that civilization belongs to a Caucasian race, when in actual fact, what is known as Egyptian civilization is black civilization. What you know as pharaonic Egypt, the Egypt of the pharaohs, was Egypt of black people. So whatever was discovered, whatever was invented in Egypt in that time was done by black people. Black people have done a lot of things in the past which the white people who colonized us, who wrote books, have decided to hide from us. And that's the kind of information that the Zimbabwe Heritage Trust is trying to uncover, to discover, and make public to the black people so that they can be proud of who they are because their ancestors achieved a lot of things. And to do this, we get the assistance of academics. People at institutions like this one, people at institutions like universities who do the research for us. And when we get the information, we intend to write books. And we hope these books will go into educational institutions. And in this respect, we have started a heritage publishing house. Heritage publishing house, which will be responsible for publishing the material that we find in our research efforts. We have already identified areas on which to write books, and we are in the process of commissioning writers, identifying people who can write books on the specific topics that we have identified, which will expose the kind of information that we want known to the people. That project is at an advanced stage because we already have a printing press, and we are using that printing press to print our newspaper, The Patriot, which is another project which you perhaps must be familiar with. The Patriot is a newspaper that we started in May of last year. It's just about a year old, with that specific objective of enlightening black people on their circumstances, the current circumstances, and what they were in the past. You look at our culture today, it is not African culture. You look at our religion, it's not African religion. The way we look, the way we prefer long hair to short hair, the way we prefer to be lighter than black, the way we prefer exotic trees. If you go around the college grounds, you will find that all the indigenous trees have been removed. What is left are exotic trees. So we breathe air that is produced by trees from Europe. Now, these are things that we have done unconsciously, and we see nothing wrong with that. But this is not what every race does. You will find that there's some very proud races like Indians, like the Chinese, like the Japanese. They value their culture, they value who they are, and they don't want to be changed. And because they are that original, that indigenous, and that cultural, they don't waste a lot of time imitating other people. They use more time working on developing themselves, developing their economies. And so as long as black people are still copycats of the white man, we are not going to develop. We will not be independent because we are living a false life. That, I think, is an issue that the young men and women of this country must be aware of, so that we take deliberate steps to be independent people, people who believe in being black, being Zimbabwean. There are other projects that we do. Apart from the Patriot, and by the way, the Patriot, the people who contribute to the Patriot are academics. So most of the articles that you read in the Patriot come from people that are working at universities. They come from established writers whose national consciousness is very sharp, whose consciousness for being black is very sharp. And these are people that we deliberately identified to contribute to the paper. So when you read it, don't read it like a newspaper, because the information contained in there is not information that expires. It is information that will last forever in terms of its usefulness. We have a team. These gentlemen that you see with cameras belong to the department that is responsible for researching into Chimrenga 2. And what we do basically in that effort is to interview all the war veterans that we can come across. The people who got involved in the second Chimrenga, the old people in the villages who experienced the war of liberation. We talk to them and ask them to relate their history from the beginning to the end. And that way, we hope we are capturing the history of Chimrenga 2. Their experiences are part of the history of Chimrenga 2. In the end, what we want to do with that information is to transcribe it and put it in form of a big book, a master record, from which you, ladies and gentlemen, when you decide to write books, can obtain information to write whatever book you want to write on Zimbabwean history. So we hope we will make a significant contribution in that respect. We thought this was necessary because a lot of the people who were involved in the liberation struggle are dying, and their story is not yet recorded. We also do the same for Chimrenga 1, which is the Mbuyane under period. But of course, the information we get from there, some of it is speculative, because it's now oral, it's by oral history. So those are some of the projects. We have taken a few students from schools to Harare to tour the National Heroes Acre, and after that they've gone to the airport, they've gone to various industries in town. We have taken some people to Mozambique and to Zambia to go and witness the barbarism that was perpetrated by the white men. A lot of our people died outside this country, and they are buried there. So we want to give an opportunity to Zimbabweans to see for themselves the kind of experience that our liberators went through. So that basically is Zimbabwe Heritage Trust. But we also thought we should do another project which is researching into the mineral wealth of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is a country which is very small in size, but it is very big in terms of influence. You perhaps have observed that if anything happens in this country, it is reported in a lot of countries, very far away from here, in very big countries. If the president of this country says anything, it is reported in places as small as Fiji, very far away. And if one white man dies in this country on a farm, that information will be reported very far away. But if 15 white people die on a farm in South Africa, it is local news, it's not international news. So that I think you must be wondering why what happens in Zimbabwe is so important, and what happens in a big country as big as South Africa is not that important. One reason is that Zimbabwe is not an ordinary country. It is a very rich country. It could be the richest country in the world. And the white people would want to access those resources that make Zimbabwe very rich. And I want to talk about that this morning. But the other thing I want to talk about also is the problems that arise from this situation. Because the kind of problems that we have, the suffering that we've gone through in the last 12 years, is basically because of our status as a rich country. And I will provoke a few discussions on that subject. And then in the end, I would want to talk about the role of religion in colonization, because religion is at the center of culture. And when your culture is a religion that doesn't belong to you, you behave in a manner that does not support your interests. You behave in a manner that supports the owners of the religion. And I'll be talking about briefly. So that is what we're going to be talking about this morning.